right, welcome back to Sugar Beats. Obviously, we got Preston here. We've been having a great time. I don't know if you know Preston well, but I hope you find all his stuff, man. He's a phenomenal human being, and he's an up-and-comer. I could see him being very famous in a very short amount of time and forgetting anything about us, for sure. So
I'm looking forward to it. Rob, was it? Really nice to be here. No, thank you so much. And if you want to see me up and coming, check me out on PrestonO.com, or you can type in PrestonOffill.com if you really are a big fan. But my last name is hard, so PrestonO.com works pretty good. I've always got my dates up there. You can check it out. Check out videos there, too. It's a good website. Get on my email list. I send silly little jokes weekly.
So we've been wanting to get you out here for a while, and I know that you agreed, of course, to come out. I don't know if it was under duress or not, but
a little bit wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, in this format, we talk about anything you want to talk about at all. You got anything on your mind, or you want me to just start shooting questions, or how do you want to handle this?
Let's shoot some questions out.
Okay.
I've got tons of stuff always on my mind, but I want to hear what's on your mind.
Okay. Well, I think the very first thing that I really want to talk about is you've been doing some work now with Second City.
To be specific, it is at Second City, but it is at Donnie Skybox. So Second City has like main stage and ETC. This is something that, it's one of those kind of behind the scenes, like sassy girl kind of thing, but it is true, and I subscribe pretty hard to it. So Second City has your tour co, your main stage, and your ETC. Those are your big like equity kind of level, big paycheck kind of level shows. Then they also have Donnie Skybox, and then they also have what's Piper's Alley, which is 3 other theater spaces that you can rent out and produce your own show.
Okay.
I've been working with this team called Baby Wants Candy, and they've been running out of Donnie
Baby Wants Candy. Oh, man, is that a hot name?
It is so good. It's a music improv show, and I freaking love it. It's been so much fun. Truly, like, thank you for putting me on that show. It's the best. We have guitar, we got drums, we got piano, and then like a team of people who are just like so talented and so good at coming up with brilliant ideas on stage. And also, like, last week I had sex with one of my castmates on stage.
Wow.
So like, it's a good balance of craziness.
Clothes on, clothes off.
On. We were rubbing belly buttons is how
go.
the intercourse happened.
That's how all intercourse happens with me.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the belly button.
We were singing during it too, so I was a happy camper. But it's an incredible show. But I just always want to make sure, like, I don't want to come across as someone who's like, I'm working at Second City. It's like, I'm doing a show that has been running out of the spaces at Second City. But it is not like there are 3 casts there who, if they heard, me saying I'm with Second City, they'd be pretty mad.
Really?
So I gotta wait until I get the good grace to step up and be on one of those teams.
So they have the arrogance to call themselves Second
And that's
City,
why
like
we're here.
humble,
Right.
and yet act like
They're first.
they're first.
They're the worst people ever, I'm telling
You people out there, trust me,
It's the worst.
get your act together. Who gives a crap? Have fun,
Yeah.
man.
But I'll say
Life's short. Come on.
come on. just count us all as main shows. How about you?
We're all second. Who can be a winner when we're all second?
It's an incredible time, though, and like again, I am so incredibly grateful for that show. It's been great. I've got so many dates coming up actually for that show, as I mentioned. I've got November 12th, a 7:30 and a 9 p.m., December 3rd, same times, and December 10th, 7:30 and 9 p.m. Check it out. The show is really, really cool. We've been selling out pretty much every show, which is even better news.
Well, that's absolutely the absolute highest way to honor someone is to sell out the show.
Yeah.
So, way to go.
No, it really does feel great. Like I'm very happy to be working there and in that space. And, even though Second City doesn't want us to say that we're a Second City show, we sure get your audiences. So it works out pretty good. But I've got that going on. I'm going to be teaching a class out in Lincoln Lodge in March. I'm doing a stand-up on the spot kind of thing.
Okay.
So trying to bring improv technique to stand-up comics.
Oh, wow.
Try to bring that in a little bit closer.
Okay.
I'm really excited for that. And then,
so
of
what
course,
gives you the drive to want to teach?
Dude, it's the best. It really is. It's just I've been doing it for long enough and had so many teachers who were such impacts and influences on me. And I had enough that I was like, I think I can kind of hope to inspire that in other people. I'm one of those hippy dippies when it comes to comedy, and it's more of like a religion to me than anything else. And like, I love the concept of yes and in improv.
Yes.
I try to live that way every day, let me tell you. It's the absolute best. I try to impact on my students that if you lived a life of saying yes and to more people and had more people doing that to you in your life,
wow,
it'd probably be a better world. And it is.
Well, I'm gonna throw it on there because you were the one that emphasized yes and so much in your class to us. And by the way, my classmates love you guys. Obviously, you know who you are. And I'm going to tell you right now, you learn something from everybody, whether you're in class or not. And since you're a classy guy, sorry about that. But yes, and I meet people all the time with business, with friends, stuff like that. And when you started saying yes and, I started to actually do a little bit of reading on it as well, a couple books and things, and I realized there is such a fundamental desire for people to connect. And when you say yes and, you're affirming them and you're adding a little bit to the conversation so they can continue to share who they are to you rather than being quiet and or no or you're wrong. Those shut down things so quickly. And the yes and, in my opinion, really does make a better world. I've noticed this. I've used it hundreds of times since, you bring that up a year or two ago. I can't remember, probably a year and a half ago. And it's been very impactful for me in actual conversations. I'm meeting new people all the time. In business, I meet people. And so the yes and is a great tool for us to, just explore someone else. Explore who they are, because it allows them the opportunity to finally, without challenge, and let's go further down the road and see where this goes.
I'll say this. I'll tell you a story. So back after lockdown, during the pandemic, I had the great opportunity to move back to Kansas City and live with my dad for about a year. Super fun. Hey, Dad, I'm an adult. Let me live in your basement. Can I smoke weed in your basement? Those kinds of normal adult conversations. After that happens, I'm about to move back to Chicago. And, of course, I got to find a spot. So I find this dream condo in the loop of Chicago, and it's only $734 a month.
No way.
And I'm like, this is too good to be true. And so freaking innocent O'Fil over here, Captain Kansas City, just, you want a direct deposit from my account to pay for this thing? Well, that sounds sure fun to me. I don't need to see the place. And so this person's really going back and forth with me, and I send the money over, and then communication stops.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, what's this friendly fella up to where he's just stopped emailing me? So a couple days before, I'm like, hey, just want to make sure there's like keys for me to be able to get in my apartment. Radio silence. I call the actual apartment, not Zillow.com, and the apartment manager goes, oh, was this guy's name like Rory Rose or something? And I'm like, oh God, yes, why? And he's like, he's a scammer. He took your money.
Oh,
and I'm like, I paid for 2 months rent. Like,
wow. Oh
no. And so this the whole reason I was going back to Chicago was at that time a theater was opening back up. I had work and I had to be there in a week.
Right.
And so thankfully I had a friend, Emily Ramirez, who I was able to reach out, and she anded my situation and let me stay with her for 3 weeks. But the reason I tell this story is that after those 3 weeks, I had another friend I got to go stay with for about a month and a half.
Okay.
They had a 3-bedroom, my friend, and her and the other roommate were not living there at the time, but one other gal was. And that gal was like really anti-man, really didn't want to hang out with the dude. And I'm like, my name is Preston. Like, I'm as bro-y, like it's rough. It's rough for this guy to show up. So I had to send her a couple personal like recommendations from my friends being like, he looks like a jerk, but he's a really sweet guy, I promise. But all she saw was like, what's up? Hey, ha. And she said yes to my situation. This gal who I didn't even know me.
Okay.
Because again, my friend had a 3-bedroom. My friend and a roommate weren't living there, but this other gal who I met once at a party was. Right. But she said yes to the situation. And instead of meeting me with hostility and not wanting to be my friend, she decided to yes and be my friend. And, you know, I only lived there for about 3 weeks, but it went from complete stranger to at the very end of the 3 weeks, we were going out to dinners, and those dinners turned out to be dates. And then we started to kind of like form a relationship. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, we both were like,
she likes you.
I'm leaving. And then bada bait, we played Truth or Dare like nerds, and then we kissed, and it was beautiful. And now, you know, almost 2 years later, we're still dating, and like I'm happy to say she's my girlfriend, and we're in love. And it's like none of that would have happened if I lived in a realm where people were just no-oring people and like rejecting ideas. Instead, I've been able to put myself in these circles where people are like more willing to just try these crazy ideas and try it out. And like, you never know what can come out of it. I really thought I was going to have to just play like Saint O'Fil the whole time. And instead, I got a few smooches out of it.
I like it.
So yes and is the best thing ever.
So the $1,500 scam loss enriched your soul.
If anything, it was worth
That's a
well
cheap
more
price
money.
for a hot woman. Let me tell. No, just kidding.
No,
sorry about that.
No. She's worth all the condos in at least downtown Chicago. At least. I won't say River North. I won't say Gold Coast. But like bottom loop, that's you, baby. That's you.
You heard it here first. Wow. So are there plans to kind of move it even a little further, or are you just kind of hanging out for a bit?
End of July, we're going to get a place together, and I'm really excited. I know. I'm really excited.
I actually did meet her at Christmas.
Of course,
at that Christmas party. It was fantastic.
I got to say, we were having a conversation the other day, and we were rating each other on a scale of 1 to 10, which... Let me tell you, what a healthy conversation to have. Nobody's feelings are going to get hurt. Everyone's going to laugh and have a good time. And she was listing the reasons why I'm not a 10, which we both started off. We're both not 10s. Of course, we think we're 10s, but in life, what are we?
Okay.
And one of the things she said is she's like, well, the reason you're knocked down so many points definitely is because you do comedy. And I'm like, oh my God. And, you know, it's just so funny being in these circles. You're like, well, my friends are comedians. Everyone loves comedians. But then when you talk to like, I don't know, pretty people who aren't doing comedy and all of that, you're like, oh, I forget this is the lamest thing to be doing. Even though we have fun doing it, it's still, you might as well be like, is this your card? Like, it's rough.
Oh, yeah. I never look at comedy as a negative because this is what comedy brings. It brings happiness. Who doesn't want to be around happy people?
Oh, 100%. I think what it also brings is a lot of late nights at bars with guys vaping outside or guys vaping inside. And you know,
that's true.
It brings a weird community and a lot of Hawaiian shirts, a ton of flannel. You know, it's like those kind of, you know, these glasses on pretty much every dude you see.
Oh, yeah.
Named Bryce.
Exactly.
You know, it brings it, though I 100% agree with you that like my life and energy comes from the comedy community, and I love everybody, even the not so great people. I love everybody who makes up what the community is. I get why my beautiful, attractive 10 of a girlfriend maybe doesn't want to hang out with open micers every night.
Wow. Well, I come from a line of attractive people.
I can tell.
And no, I've hung around a lot of gorgeous people, I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. And they are misunderstood a little bit. They have a problem because, and I can see her reservation, they're always looked as a dish, you know, as something to acquire, as something to get. And, you know, when you're always the object of someone's, you know, approach, I'm sure it's got to be much more difficult than, you know, like with us where someone showed me attention. Wow, I love this. How'd that happen? They said hi to me. Oh, they waved. Wow, this is fantastic. You know, where most of us are like that. They're like, all right, that's the 96th person today that have asked my number or whatever it is. And so I know that they have a different challenge, and they handle it in different ways. It's kind of funny. Mm-hmm. Some of them really become this jaded jerk kind of human being, and I don't like that at all. Whether it's their fault or not, I don't really care. But then some, they just get reserved. Like they're not going to go out until, you know, they're not going to present themselves as anything other than a wall until they know who that person is. And I think famous people go through that too. Of they've been approached so many times, they've been scammed so many times, whatever, that they're going to be reserved until they know the person. And I think that's what she did. She's like, yeah, I'm a hottie, but I don't know who you are. We're going to figure this out slowly. And I think that's a really cool thing, man.
Yeah.
It's really great.
I mean, we are talking about a martial arts kick butt kind of gal. So, like, of course she puts up a wall. At that time, she was doing fight combat. I'm just grateful that she's
pretty and a fighter. I like that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's good.
It is a joy. I weigh literally double her weight, just to give you an idea. It is a fun time when
she's
scale
like 70
around.
pounds.
Thank you very much. No, she's 250. That's what's scary. But it is fun that when we weigh each other, I'm like, all right, I got one more of you on you. And still, if she has a little bit of wine, she's like, let's practice the kata. Let's go for some. And she'll do, she's, I won't say has flipped me, but the more and more she grows in the belts, the more my days are limited where I'm like, I got you, babe. She loves to point out when there is clearly a line that I start taking it way too seriously. And I'm trying too hard to push against her. And she's just like pressure pointing me, like 2 fingers just taking me down. I'm like, I'm not going down. I'm not going down. It's great. It's very humbling to have just a strong, talented, beautiful girlfriend.
I think that's attractive.
It is.
Weakness I've never seen as something attractive. Now, on the other hand, I've never had a woman brutalize me, so maybe that is not a good thing. But
yeah, spit in my mouth. It works out pretty good. I gotta say, it's a very healthy dynamic. I'll say that.
Good.
It also stops me from. I've got a bit of a mouth. It definitely stops me from crossing too many lines, which is really good.
So you've got comic friends, and some of them are obviously very happy with another individual, and some aren't finding that individual yet. What would be your advice on how to find that right person for you?
Well, in the case of my girlfriend, send a lot of foot pics to her. No, it's really simple. Honestly, my advice for comedians is really try not to date other comics. I know that's like such a bummer to hear, but it's like, you know how you're crazy? They're probably that same amount of crazy. Like, go find someone not in that world who's just going to be like, you've got a show tonight? That's so cool. And, that's the kind of support you're looking for, right? You're not looking for the support of like, well, I'm opening for da-ba-da. Well, I'm doing da-ba-da. Take the competition out of it for a while, especially if you're in a place where you're still trying to build yourself in a career. If you want to date another comic, get yourself somewhere in your career. Then go ahead and date another comic. But competition is a real thing, and I've seen it tear so many comic couples apart. And I'm sure there are some that work, and those are the best, and do that. But my advice for you is go do that other thing you love to do and find them there. I love playing pool. I've now taken my girlfriend to go play pool with me a couple times, and that's a really fun new thing for her to try out.
Sure.
It does suck that my example of finding her at the other thing I like to do was existing in an apartment building. But you know what? I love living in housing, and that was a great place to meet her.
So you're saying workplace romance in the comedy clubs is probably not the best.
Especially early on. Definitely not the best.
Okay.
Definitely not the best. So many open micers make the mistake, or fresh people in classes make the mistake of hooking up with your scene partners and letting that happen. And then it's like, well, they're
letting your belly buttons rub.
Well, that's a benefit when you get into it. But you gotta know those people are going to stay in the community with you forever. So like, if that doesn't go well, you're going to be working with those people for years and years and years. And they might be in charge of you getting a job, or you might be in charge of them getting a job.
Wow.
And then it's just weird every time. So you got to think about it that way.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
There's so many people out there.
Well, it is funny too, because I don't know. I just like everybody all the time, so it makes it really strange that way. But it seems to me the more you're around somebody, the more you're going to like them. And the more you like them, the more you want to be with them. The more you be with them, now obviously you're moving into that dating range. Yeah. And if you're doing comedy a lot, then it seems like you're probably going to have to really resist that urge. So thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
Let me tell you, my girlfriend went from seeing 0 comedy shows in her life to now she has seen so many forms of comedy shows. She's seen her bad open mics to her like, whoa, I thought this was going to be terrible. And everyone crushed, to then seeing, like, she saw your class show. So, you know, bad open mics.
Did she like that?
No, she loved it. She loved the entire thing.
Well, it's all your fault if it's good.
Honestly, though, right? No, she really loved it. She liked being able to see, like, the students that I had been teaching and, like, seeing kind of what I was talking about with, like, these are what we're trying to strengthen in each person, and seeing if we reached those goals or didn't reach those goals. I personally think we reached those goals pretty dang well.
Well, you can only work so much with clay, you know.
That's what
After
I'm saying,
that,
right? Come on,
you
we
know.
got to give up at a certain point. But it really is. It is so fun to date someone and bring them into my world that's new instead of a jaded person.
Now, did she try did she even try one time anything up on the mic?
I would pay her money to go in front of a mic. It would be so much fun.
He's going to pay you money to go in front of the
Mickey,
mic.
baby, I'll give you $150 to go to a mic tonight. Please do it. She knows this is an option. So
He'll do the 100. I'll top another 100. We'll definitely do this.
It's $200. I'll film the set. We'll put it on the channel.
Absolutely.
It will be so funny. I've told her I'll write jokes for her before, and she's still like, you can't even write jokes for your own self.
Oh,
I'm like, all right,
that's painful.
I will say, I can't say them now, but I have given her comebacks for when she's hanging out with my comic friends.
Okay.
Because I do think it's important that they do find her funny.
Oh.
And so I've given her like 3 or 4 different jokes that just in case, if they say something to her, she can zing them back and it'll keep them away. And I think that's important too.
Does that happen?
It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet, but I do know it's something that is an investment, and when it happens, I'm going to cry.
Oh, great.
Or the joke won't land, and I'll be like,
yeah. And then she'll say, Preston, you said this would work, and everyone will be like,
did you give your girlfriend
what happened?
jokes? I'm like, yes, and I have more writing to do. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I like it a lot.
So you came from Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good town. I've been there several times.
I would say it's the greatest city in the world.
It's hard to say that,
Okay.
but it's nice. It's really nice. And you're in Chicago now. Is this the only other city you've kind of been in? You've been all across the country? What have you been doing?
Yeah, definitely all over in different spots in the country. As you said, raised in Kansas City. That's where I got my start from. It's where I was doing comedy. I was doing little competitions there. I was doing improv comedy in high school. Middle school is when I actually got my start in improv.
Okay.
I had a teacher, Reed Youthy, put his handle right here. He pulled me aside and he's just like, hey, you are a really weird child. And, you know, back then I had big puffy hair and I wore the same basketball shorts every day and I stunk like middle school fat boy.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, you're very weird and you've got a lot of energy. I want you to try this improv thing and channel that energy and see what happens. And I mean, my life has completely changed ever since. And there are so many weird people that I've met throughout my life where I'm like, I need to give you this speech that I got once upon a time. And almost every time it's nice to see them go on and try it out. And they're like, oh, this is like an hour, or, you know, we'll do shows that are sometimes 3 hours in a night. I'm trying to get it set up where I can have 3 shows every Saturday night, but we'll see how that works.
Okay.
Well, by the time this comes out, we'll cut it 2 ways.
Exactly.
Either I got cast as an IO house team and I'm really excited. It's going to be fun.
There you go.
And then the other edit is, you know, IO is like it's a theater coming back and they can only take 3 teams. So I understand that the selection was really big. So they could only pick so many people.
Well, you know, you only have so many debtors. And when you owe, you owe.
You owe.
Or I owe, I guess. So sorry about that.
So did that and absolutely loved Kansas City and like still do. I go back once a year. I'm trying to go more, maybe twice a year in this next year, and I go do shows. I just got back now 2-3 months ago doing some shows, and it was just a blast to see so many people in Kansas City come out and support, and like just so many crazy faces that I never would have expected to see come out. My friend Arthur Clifford came out, Miles came out, Reed Youthy came out, the teacher who got me into improv.
Wow.
My family, of course, came out. Catherine, my cousin, I freaking love her. So many people. And it was just like 2 shows back to back and seeing this crowd of like just my life right there. And it felt so good. And it's also so motivating because, you know, I have those shows that I'm going back and doing. And then me and my improv partner, Patrick Newson, we tour the country, and we go down to Tampa every year, and we would do this thing called the Countdown Improv Festival.
Wow.
It's the best improv festival in the country, hands down, period.
Is that in the winter? Right around Christmas?
August time.
Okay.
Oh. It's like August-ish time. It's the best. I love
the hottest
people
part
who
of
run
Florida, at the hardest part of time
Dude,
of Florida.
It's muggy. It's muggy. And you know how I dress on stage, too. So I make my improv partner dress up with me, and we're just sweating walking through, 8th
100%
Street.
wool, man. That's what you need.
Yeah. Well, it's so much fun. But also, like, we've been doing this for a couple years now, and it started as just like we were a team there. And now it's grown to the point where, like, we get hotels covered, and we get trips from the airport.
Wow.
And it's like, we've been teaching workshops there, too, and making money off of that. Go ahead and take those workshops. And like, as I said with Kansas City, a few years in, we've started developing a crowd and a bit of a fan base. And that all comes from friendship.
Yes.
And like, I think that's the thing that with like Kansas City, my friends in the crowd, Tampa Bay, my friends in the crowd, Chicago, my friends in the crowd, and like getting blessed with, Judy's Beat Lounge over at Second City with Baby Wants Candy. And with those amazing shows, those aren't necessarily just my friends in the crowd. Those are just people wanting to see comedy. And like, that's really nice. But at the core, it's always your friends in the crowd who are filling it up. And like, that's the thing that I picked up from Kansas City, moving to Chicago, and then moving into this territory where we've been touring more and more. And, we're doing shows in Green Bay. We're doing shows in Tampa Bay. Playtime with Patrick and Preston is the improv duo. Oh, God.
You're seeing him take his clothes off here.
All right. If that didn't work, I'll just sweat into the shirt.
No extra charge. You already paid your admission.
You're welcome, Wiki Feet. We did the world tour a couple years ago, where it was Baytime with Patrick and Preston, Green Bay and Tampa Bay, and that was our world tour.
Wow.
But like, in this next year, I'm really excited because now we're looking at spots in Seattle, we're looking at spots in LA, we're looking at spots in New York, and just like every year there becomes more and more spots that we're starting to just hit up with that mentality of the first year in Tampa Bay, we had no one. And now we have friends.
Right.
When I started in Kansas City doing comedy, I had my friends, and that was it. And now I go back, and my friends are still there. When I go back to Tampa Bay, my friends are still there. We want to start making friends other places too. And I think it's in my experience as someone who is not a billionaire, it's working really well in person versus social media. But there's a balance. But that's something big I learned for sure.
So I think what you're saying is absolutely right. I think you make friends easily, first of all. So let's put it that way. There's some people that their personalities don't do that. You have that gift or that bend where it's not that hard to be your friend. It's really not. And so that's cool. It's almost like now that you're becoming more prestigious, and I see you as a big person in the whole entertainment industry. Eventually, I don't know if that's 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever the timeline is. I don't know. And you need a break.
I'd like to vote for 6 months.
You need the break, of course. But I've seen what you can do, and I've been extremely impressed. And I've seen a lot of entertainment in my life, thousands and thousands of live hours. And so, you definitely shine. And I've already told you this many times.
Thank you.
You think you'll be like an Adam Sandler when you do get to that level of notoriety? You're just gonna still have all your friends coming with you and doing that kind of thing, or you think you're gonna be like, I used to know these guys, but I've kind of outgrew them, and
I hope it's never that one. I hope it's never that one. There are people that I've worked with for years and years. When I moved to Chicago in 2015, my first show was with Marissa Chastain, Patrick Newson, Pratik Srivastava, and Dwayne Deering, and I work with all of them still.
Sure.
Marissa Chastain, Patrick Newson specifically, they both live here, and Pat and I do Playtime with Patrick and Preston. Like I said, we're working out at the Comedy Vault out in Batavia, Illinois.
Go to the Comedy Vault every Tuesday? No, every Sunday?
Sunday at 2 o'clock. And
Sunday,
then
2 o'clock.
Saturdays at 11:30 prime time.
In the morning?
At night.
Batavia, they go to bed at 9.
I go to bed at 9.
Yeah, when no one's awake.
We're going to keep them awake. Come check it out. You'll see exactly why you need to see the show. But, you know, I'm working with him there. And, like, you know, so many different people that I get this amazing friendship that just, like, lasts.
Yeah.
And you find those people. And, of course, like, your snowball just kind of keeps growing with those connections. But, you know, I've worked with Cody for years, you know.
Yeah, Cody's on our soundboards. Cody's fantastic.
He's eating a cookie
Great
I baked
guy.
for him today. I mean, I freaking love these people. But, you know, that all comes from just doing shows everywhere, meeting people, and then just being like, oh, you're friendly. Great. And you're good. And also, and you're good. Yeah. That's something else.
Well, yeah, and it takes growth, really, to be honest. Good is always, you know, until you stop progressing, you know.
Sure.
And I've seen that with you and a lot of other people I've watched is I love to see that progression of, wow, that's funny. Ooh, that's funnier. Wow, I didn't even know that was there. You know, and it keeps growing, and that's really good. Do you see as you're starting to work with other people other than just that nucleus of friends that you're growing with that as well?
Extremely.
Okay.
I think it's so important to work with other people, too. I mean, you know, Baby Wants Candy. Saturdays, November and December, Donnie Skybox. What's really nice with that is these are people who all of their career has been music improv, and all they want to do is have an incredible not that anyone else I've ever worked with hasn't ever wanted that goal, but that's all they're focusing on. And it's this incredible talent. And it's not just the singers on stage, but it's also like you have someone on keys improvising a song with you. You have someone on drums improvising a song with you, and someone on guitar. We've had trumpets in there before too. And it's like, it's just this conglomeration of brilliance melodically that I can't help but learn from every single performance. And, you know, that's just Baby Wants Candy Saturdays, November and December. But that's also like anytime I worked out at the Comedy Shrine in the last few years, these teams that I would work with who are my friends. And, you know, yes, there is the idea of like you reach a certain level of comfort where it can plateau. But those are people that I worked with where every show we'd go like, all right, what are some goals we want to grow with as a team? And what are the, you know, I always focus on micro goals every show. What is one little thing I didn't do as well as I thought I could last time that I could dedicate this show to prove to myself that I can be better? And every show having those. And, you know, Comedy Shrine specifically, that team did that every single time. Baby Wants Candy does that every single time. But Playtime with Patrick and Preston does that every single time. All these teams I work with, and that's why I love to work with them, is I don't really find myself working with people who are just plateauing and easy. Yeah. And like, yes, I've done shows with people who it's just like, all right, this is a paycheck. Like, we are just chilling on this. And that's fine, but it's never fun. Right. And then like you feel like you've not only robbed the audience of a great show who is paid for tickets, they're paying the drink minimum, they're paying for parking, they're paying the babysitter, you know, and if we run extra, they're paying for all of that extra as well. You're not only robbing them of a good show, but more selfishly, you're robbing yourself of the fun of a good show. Right. You know, the people who are listening to a guessing game and they're out in the hallway and they're listening to the gets so they can look cool on stage. You don't even look cool because you're not having fun. Right. It's pretty clear when you're faking it. You know, I forget who says it, but in improv, it's like, if you're not having fun, we're not having fun. And it's just as simple as that. Sure. So it's a combination of having fun and in having fun, making yourself better and constantly improving on yourself and your performance. And in that betterness, you have more fun.
Now, do you see yourself like on SNL or anything like that in the future? Or because that's more of a pressure cooker.
That would be so much fun. My first show I ever did in Chicago was with this guy, Michael McCarthy. I've got his wristband on right now. Woo! I love him so much. But we did a couple different shows at Improv Olympic, I.O., for years until they closed down. We did a combination of Monday Night Live, which is essentially Saturday Night Live, and then a show we called POV, Point of View. And it was that concept of every week we have new sketches on there. We would rehearse. We would do these like gauntlet rehearsals. And I forget exactly how it was, but it was something like Tuesdays we would rehearse for 4 hours. We would do a read through on Monday, a 4-hour rehearsal on Tuesday, and then Saturday, we would have a 6-hour marathon rehearsal and just run all those sketches, block them out, get them all together. And then the show was that night. And then after the show, we'd run into the writer's room and we'd start pitching new ideas for the next meeting, which was that next week. And it would be an all new set of scripts. And I loved that kind of work ethic. And it really forced you to flex that muscle in your brain to memorize as fast as you can, to create as fast as you can. And also, what really helped with character development is you only had so much time with the script. So you had to make big choices really, really quick.
Right.
And I think that helps impact the work on stage as well. Just that, innate ability to just want to be as unique as possible in your character as fast as possible. Yeah. So I would love something like SNL. I'm not saying that show was SNL, but it sure was a nice boot camp, and it really taught me to write fast. It really taught me to act fast. And hey, Lauren, buddy, what more do you need? Come on, another white guy on the cast. Woo!
Well, I don't. Well, let's bring that up for just a second. I don't look at the color of the skin or the gender. I mean, if you're funny, you're funny. I don't care if you're a lady, if you're a guy, sure, what color you got. It doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
And I think that to put that as a priority, I understand the sentiment behind it, but I totally disagree with it because it short circuits the creativity of each individual. Everyone's unique, and that's fine. And I don't see any reason why women should be held back or men should be held back or any specific skin color should be held back. I think that as long as you're pushing your craft, you're doing your very best, and you get the break, because breaks are part of the gig.
Yeah, you got to have one.
There's no I don't look at it with shame in any way. Whatever the cast looks like is what it looks like, and hopefully they're doing their job and they're working hard at it.
Yeah.
And so I think we've really gone past maybe 40, 50 years ago where women couldn't be on something, or a black guy couldn't be on something, or a Mexican couldn't be on something.
Sure.
I think we're way past all of that. But, I could be wrong in specific instances, but in general, I think people are people. We're all human. We all treat each other with respect. We do our very best. We work our craft, and we get the breaks as best we can.
Completely agree. People are people. I totally agree. And I think the break is super important, too. I think what's nice about SNL as an example is getting that nice, I almost want to say, rainbow of personalities and looks to be able to use for different characters, especially a show like SNL where you're having to come up with content every single week.
Right.
If you've only got Kenan Thompson and then 12 Preston O'Fills on the stage, it's going to be really hard to talk about a lot of different issues. But if you've got a cast of everybody who looks like everybody, I mean, hell, they got Bo and Yang playing literally every kind of Asian out there. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with that one bit. But because you got Bowen, you can hit those jokes. You can get the representative of China, and then you can also get any of the Kim Jongs. And, you can play with those jokes, which is such a beautiful thing to do. So that's why with a show like SNL specifically, I think I'm all game for getting as many different looking people as possible. Especially because, at that level, it's very rare. Yes, you have those people, but it's very rare to see a cast member go up and be like, they don't deserve this. Why are they doing this? A cast member who lasts more than a year. I'll say that. If I got to add a buffer.
Well, I'm going to say this, though, and you've seen this before, too. Let's say you give a 6-person improv thing, and there's a couple ladies and some guys or whatever, and the girls always get this, say it's an older lady. She always gets the grandma. She always gets the, the Karen. She always gets whatever it is. They're typecast immediately in the minds of people well, they have to play that because that's what they look like. And I think that it's extremely creative, especially with improv. But in anything, if, Steve Martin in The Jerk, I was born a poor black child. Fantastic opening line. Right. It just cut right through, okay, this is going to be different. There's something here that's way out, and it's awesome. And so that's why, do we have to have someone look like that in order to be able to play that? I don't get that.
In sketch, that's the difference with improv, though, and that's something I love about improv is I could play any person I want in a scene.
So you're saying with a sketch, you probably need to do blackface and.
I mean, I've always said in all of my scenes, if I can sneak something in that's a little blackfacey, I'm doing all right. With improv though, you can play any kind of person. You can play a rock. You can play an animal. You can play a tumbleweed.
Yes, exactly.
That's what's cool about improv. I'm 100% with you with the like any kind of older lady is cast as a grandma. Any younger lady is just the girlfriend type.
Every time.
You know, it's the biggest complaint I hear from any comic that happens to be a lady is they're like, I'll get on stage and I'll have an initiation and the guy will be like, but babe, what about the milk carton? And you're like, well, now we're girlfriend, boyfriend. Why don't you make me something crazy? Make me a dinosaur mid-transformation, whatever that means. Let's play in that realm instead, right? So I'm with you on the improv kind of side of things. Look at my sweet little legs dangling. I feel like I'm just too short for this chair, or I'm just tucked too back. But
I don't know. These chairs, they look pretty, but I'm not sure they're the ones I want to keep because they are just a little dimensionally wrong, and I'm not sure where it is. So
I'm into it. Like I was saying, I can go crisscross applesauce. It's just wide enough that I can kind of hit my mark.
Dude, you look like an attractive Buddha.
Ooh,
there you
thank you, Buddha.
Got your Zen moment going there, baby.
Yeah, this moment too shall pass. All right, very cool.
So, all right. Well, I do appreciate you so much. I'm going to let you go. Unless you've got anything else you want to say. Obviously, you want to plug all your stuff. We'll be putting it in the screen.
Oh, please, yes. And if you could put it throughout the whole thing, that would be excellent. But, now that it's at the end, I'll make it a little entertaining. I do have, the thing I'll plug is I've got a fundraiser happening at the Phoenix Club that's happening November 5th.
No way.
And just in case this is posted after, it happened and we made $1 million, but you can still donate to my Venmo. My Venmo is payme6969. We're just trying to raise money for Phoenix Club. Again, just check out my website, prestono.com. It's really fun.
Yeah.
If there was one thing I could leave this interview with, this podcast with, it's that the world would be such a better place if everyone you talk to yes-anded you at least one more time in the day. So with that mentality, I hope you and everyone else goes out there and just one stranger or one person in your life, just say yes to something you would normally say no to and see what kind of adventure that leads to. So many opportunities open up when you open up, and that's the power of improv, baby. And let's all do a scene together. Zip.
There you have it, guys. Thanks so much. And obviously, Preston's a gem. You're going to love his guy. He's going to be bigger than sliced bread, So thanks a lot. Talk to you guys later.